the woman who danced barefoot into cinema history, who scandalized a generation, who became an icon by refusing to play by the rules. Brigitte Anne-Marie Bardot was born on September 28, 1934 in Paris, France, into an upper-middle-class household that valued tradition and propriety above all else. Her father, Louis Bardot, was an industrialist who ran a factory. Her mother, Anne-Marie, came from a banking family and held strict Catholic values. The family lived in a comfortable apartment in the 15th arrondissement. Young Brigitte was expected to become a refined young lady, to marry well, to live quietly. But from the beginning, there was something untamable about her. Her early years were spent at the ballet bar at the prestigious Conservatoire de Paris, perfecting her posture, dreaming of pirouettes and grand jetés, training under the legendary Russian choreographer Boris Kanyazov. She showed genuine promise as a dancer, the discipline, the grace, the control. At just 15, her graceful figure and delicate features caught the eye of Elle magazine. She appeared on the cover in May 1950, a photograph that would change everything. Because at that audition for a film she'd never get, she met a young assistant director named Roger Vadim. He was 18, she was 15, and he saw something in her that the world had never quite seen before. Vadim didn't just see a pretty face or a promising dancer, he saw revolution wrapped in blonde curls and wide eyes. He pursued her relentlessly. They married in December 1952 when she was 18. He molded her, directed her, believed in her potential to shatter every convention. In 1956, at only 21 years old, Bardot starred in And God Created Woman, the film her husband directed with absolute conviction. The film that would shatter every unspoken rule cinema had quietly agreed to follow for decades. She played Juliette Hardy, an 18-year-old orphan in Saint-Tropez, a girl who followed her desires without guilt or shame. Bardot danced the mambo barefoot on screen, her movements unrehearsed and wild, her blonde hair tousled and natural, her body draped in a simple towel in one scene that made censors reach for their red pens. She radiated something dangerous, something electric and utterly genuine, a sexuality that felt real rather than manufactured by studio lighting and careful camera angles. The Vatican condemned it. The Catholic Legion of Decency gave it a C rating, meaning condemned. Censors were horrified across America and Europe. Entire scenes were cut in different countries. Audiences couldn't look away. The film turned modest box office expectations into lines stretching down Parisian boulevards and around American theaters. In the United States alone, it earned over $4 million, an astronomical sum for a French film in 1956. This wasn't the demure heroine that 1950s cinema demanded. This was something entirely new and terrifying to the establishment. A woman who followed her desires without apology, who ate when she was hungry and loved with the same uncomplicated honesty. The teenage girl from Saint-Tropez that Bardot portrayed became a lightning rod for cultural warfare. She embodied the coming sexual revolution before most people even knew there would be one. The roles that followed cemented her legend and transformed her into the most photographed woman in the world. The Truth, in 1960, became her biggest commercial success in France, earning her critical acclaim and proving she could truly act, not just mesmerize. Then came Jean-Luc Godard's Contempt in 1963, a meditation on love and cinema and the death of passion that used Bardot's presence to explore the very nature of desire and disappointment. The famous opening scene showed her lying naked in bed, asking her husband which parts of her body he loved. In a scene of such raw intimacy, it felt almost documentary. She worked with Louis Malle in Vie Privée, a film that eerily mirrored her own struggles with fame. with Henri-Georges Clouzot in The Truth, where she played a woman on trial for murder. With the greatest directors of French New Wave cinema who recognized she wasn't just a sex symbol, but a genuine artist. She wasn't just beautiful. She was luminous, magnetic, vulnerable, in ways that made audiences lean forward. By her mid-20s, she was receiving 4,000 fan letters a week, more than any actress in Europe. A global phenomenon whose every outfit, every hairstyle, every gesture was copied by millions. Andy Warhol painted her in his signature pop art style. Bob Dylan allegedly wrote his first song about her at 15 years old, though it was never released or recorded. Simone de Beauvoir, the great feminist philosopher, wrote a groundbreaking essay lionizing her freedom in Esquire magazine in 1959. De Beauvoir called her genuine, dazzling, and incapable of artifice. She follows her inclinations, de Beauvoir wrote with admiration. She is as devoid of hypocrisy as an animal. This was both Bardot's gift and her curse. The authenticity that made her a star also made her a target. Away from the cameras and the flashbulbs, Bardot's personal life unfolded in passionate chapters that the tabloids devoured with glee. Her marriage to Roger Vadim ended in 1957 after 5 years. The man who'd created her image couldn't live with what he'd created. She would marry 3 more times, each union fueled by passion and ending in disappointment. To actor Jacques Charrier in 1959, with whom she had her only child, a son named Nicolas Jacques, a child she would later admit she'd never wanted and struggled to bond with, a confession that scandalized France. To German millionaire Günter Sachs in 1966, a whirlwind romance that saw him drop roses on her villa from a helicopter. Finally, to Bernard Dormal in 1992, a marriage that would last longer than her previous 3 combined, enduring until her death. By her own count in various interviews, she had 17 significant romantic relationships. She loved actors, musicians, millionaires, and bullfighters. She would leave when the passion cooled, when the fire dimmed to embers, when routine replaced excitement. "I have always looked for passion," she once admitted in an interview with Paris Match. "That's why I was often unfaithful. And when the passion was coming to an end, I was packing my suitcase." Her honesty was shocking for the era. But beneath the glamour and the endless parade of lovers, Bardot felt profoundly, desperately alone. The fame she never quite wanted became a gilded prison. "I have been very happy, very rich, very beautiful, much adulated, very famous, and very unhappy," she told Paris Match around her 50th birthday. The millions of admirers meant nothing when every moment felt watched, when the industry felt rotten and exploitative, when her privacy became not just rare, but impossible, when she couldn't walk down a street without being mobbed, when photographers hid in the bushes outside her home. And so, in 1973, at only 39 years old, Brigitte Bardot made an announcement that shocked the world. After 47 films, thus becoming one of the most recognizable and desired faces on Earth, after earning millions and appearing on over 500 magazine covers, she made her final film, L'histoire très bonne et très joyeuse de Colino Trousse Chemise, and declared she was done forever. "I will have given 20 years of my life to cinema," she said in a famous television interview. "That's enough. I'm retiring." She retreated to her property in Saint-Tropez, the village she'd made famous 30 years earlier, behind high stone walls and iron gates, surrounded not by admirers and directors, but by animals, dogs, cats, horses, donkeys, the creatures who loved her without agenda or cameras, who didn't care that she was Brigitte Bardot. In 1977, she joined Greenpeace protests against seal hunts in Canada standing on ice floes and confronting hunters. In 1986, she established the Brigitte Bardot Foundation for the welfare and protection of animals. She auctioned off her personal memorabilia, jewelry, and gowns to fund it, raising over $500,000. "This is my only battle," she said in a 2013 interview, "the only direction I want to give my life." She campaigned for elephants in circuses, for whales hunted in international waters, for stray dogs euthanized in pounds, for creatures who couldn't speak for themselves. Once she even threatened to leave France and request Russian citizenship if the government euthanized 2 sick circus elephants. President Jacques Chirac personally intervened. Her devotion was total, uncompromising. She gave interviews only to discuss animal rights. She became more radical with each passing year. Her later years were marked by controversy as fierce and divisive as her earlier fame had been unifying. She was convicted multiple times, 6 in total, for inciting racial hatred under French law. Fined nearly €100,000 over the years. In 2004, comments in her book A Cry in the Silence about Muslims and what she called the Islamization of France led to conviction. In 2008, she was convicted again for similar statements in a letter to Nicolas Sarkozy. Her friendship with Jean-Marie Le Pen, the far-right National Front politician convicted of anti-Semitism and Holocaust denial, drew international condemnation. She called him a friend, a visionary. In 2018, she dismissed the Me Too movement entirely, calling the women who came forward hypocritical and attention-seeking. "These actresses play the tease with producers to get roles," she told Paris Match. And then, years later, they denounce. The icon who once represented sexual liberation now seemed to embody something darker, more divisive, more aligned with reactionary politics. Her animal rights activism remained constant and genuine, but her political views alienated many who once admired her. Former fans struggled to reconcile the revolutionary of 1956 with the controversial figure of the 2000s. The debates about her legacy grew more complicated with each statement. In October 2024, at 90 years old, Bardot was hospitalized at Saint-Jean Hospital in Toulon. She underwent surgery for what French media carefully called a serious illness. The specifics were never disclosed to respect her privacy. She spent 3 weeks recovering in the hospital before returning home. In November, she was admitted again with complications, more treatment, more time away from her beloved animals. She had battled respiratory issues before, a consequence of decades of smoking in her youth. In 2023, she'd been hospitalized twice for breathing difficulties. By late 2024, she was rarely seen in public. When she was, she moved slowly, dependent on crutches. The body that once moved with such electric grace and feline agility was failing. But she remained fiercely in Saint-Tropez. In the home she'd made her sanctuary, surrounded by the 40 dogs and countless cats she'd rescued over the years, living the isolated, animal-centered life she'd chosen decades earlier. She gave her last interview in early 2024, speaking only about the Foundation's work protecting horses from slaughter. She looked fragile, tired, but still defiant. On December 28, 2025, today, Brigitte Bardot died. She was 91 years old. The exact circumstances remain private, protected by her family and the Foundation. What we know is this: she was at her home in Saint-Tropez in the early morning hours, the place where she'd found whatever peace was possible in her complicated life. Her husband, Bernard Dormal, was by her side. Around 6 in the morning, she experienced severe breathing difficulties. Emergency services were called. She was rushed to Saint-Jean Hospital in nearby Toulon, the same facility where she'd been treated repeatedly over the past year. And there, despite the efforts of doctors who'd treated her before, she passed away. The Brigitte Bardot Foundation released a statement just after noon. With immense sadness, they announced the death of their founder and president, a world-renowned actress and singer who chose to abandon her prestigious career to dedicate her life and energy to animal welfare. The statement asked for privacy for her family and confirmed that the foundation would continue its work in her name. The news rippled across France within hours, then across the world through social media and news wires. Tributes poured in from cinema historians who'd studied her impact, from animal rights activists who'd worked alongside her, from those who remembered her as the symbol of 1960s liberation and sexual freedom, from those who'd been troubled by her later years but couldn't deny her massive impact on culture. French President Emmanuel Macron, who had worked with her foundation on animal welfare legislation, released a statement praising her dedication to protecting animals while acknowledging the complexity of her legacy. The tributes were complicated and sometimes contradictory, because Bardot herself was complicated. A woman of contradictions, of passion and prejudice, of beauty and bitterness, of liberation and limitation. But the tributes came nonetheless from around the globe, because love her or not, agree with her or not, you couldn't deny what she'd meant to cinema and culture. Today, more than 50 years after she left cinema behind, Brigitte Bardot's legacy remains powerful, contested, and utterly unique. The Bardot neckline, that wide-open neck exposing both shoulders, still bears her name in fashion magazines. Designers still reference her effortless style each season, the messy updo, the cat eye of makeup, the Breton stripes. Film historians still study "And God Created Woman" as a watershed moment in cinema history. When cinema stopped pretending about desire, when it acknowledged that women could want without being villains. That was her revolutionary gift. She made sexuality on screen feel human rather than exploitative, real rather than manufactured in studio boardrooms. She appeared in 47 films over 20 years, recorded over 60 songs with collaborators like Serge Gainsbourg, including the scandalous Je t'aime moi non plus, which was banned by the BBC and condemned by the Vatican. She was awarded the Legion of Honor in 1985 by François Mitterrand. She was named to the Global 500 Roll of Honor by the United Nations Environment Program for her tireless animal welfare work. Her foundation continues its mission today, operating animal shelters across France, lobbying for stronger protections, and carrying forward the work she dedicated 4 decades to building. But her legacy is also uncomfortable and impossible to simplify. The later convictions for inciting hatred. The inflammatory statements that seemed to contradict everything she'd once represented. The political associations with the far right. She represents a generation's contradictions in stark relief. The sexual revolution she embodied came with its own blind spots and limitations. The freedom she claimed for herself didn't always extend generously to others. And yet, her impact on cinema is undeniable and permanent. She changed what was possible on screen forever. She refused to be demure when demure was demanded by society. She walked away when walking away seemed impossible and career suicide. She dedicated 4 decades to creatures who couldn't defend themselves. She lived according to her own fierce internal compass, even when that compass pointed toward controversy and public condemnation. She was brave and flawed, revolutionary and reactionary, liberating and limiting, all at once. The blonde girl who posed for Elle magazine at 15, who danced barefoot in Saint-Tropez at 21 and changed cinema forever, who became a global icon by simply being herself, unapologetically and completely, consequences be damned. Who then walked away from it all at the height of her beauty to save animals behind the walls of Saint-Tropez. Brigitte Bardot lived 91 complicated, passionate, troubling, magnificent years. And today, on December 28, 2025, her story ends where she wanted it to. In Saint-Tropez, quiet at last, surrounded by the animals who never asked her to be anything but exactly who she was.